Oh man, let's dive straight into this one, because what an absolute thriller. Welcome to this explainer of a match that had literally every single fan holding their breath right up until the very last whistle. We're talking about Germany's massive clash with Ivory Coast at BMO Field in Toronto for the 2026 World Cup. Listen, for 90 grueling minutes, these two heavyweights were just deadlocked at a 1-1 draw. Germany's qualification for the knockout stage was hanging right there in the balance. But then, in the 94th minute, pure unbelievable magic happened. A substitute came off the bench and completely turned the entire tournament on its head. Now, to really get why the tension was just off the charts in that stadium, we have to look back for a second. Going into this match, Germany was riding this incredible high, right? They had just completely dismantled Curaçao 7-1. But Ivory Coast, they were also coming off a really gritty 1-0 win against Ecuador. And as the kickoff happened, a very specific ghost was kind of haunting the German side. Everyone was wondering, was the 2010 World Cup nightmare about to repeat itself? Because back then, a Didier Drogba-inspired Ivory Coast famously handed Germany a crushing 2-1 defeat. So as the whistle blew in Toronto, that historical pressure was super palpable, which was a crazy contrast to their recent blowout victory.
So let's talk about that first half. Talk about a psychological torture chamber for the German squad. They came out totally firing, but VAR basically became their worst enemy. In the 22nd minute, Alexander Pavlovich scrambles the ball into the net off a corner, but wait, VAR spots a foul on Ivory Coast's goalkeeper. Goal disallowed. Okay, then in the 39th minute, Kai Havertz finds the back of the net. You think they're up, but nope. Once again, VAR intervenes, spotting a foul by Jamal Musiala in the build-up. Disallowed again. I mean, having 2 goals chalked off in a single World Cup match, that is incredibly rare. You could literally see German manager Julian Nagelsmann absolutely seething on the touchline.
And the craziest part? Sandwiched right between those 2 crushing VAR decisions, Ivory Coast struck, and they struck with lethal precision. Right at the 30-minute mark, Yan Diomande, who is a rising star and a massive Liverpool transfer target by the way, fires this wicked low cross from the left side. A brilliant block by Nathaniel Brown stops the first shot, but the rebound falls perfectly to Ivory Coast captain Franck Kessie. He just smashes it home from close range. Manuel Neuer had absolutely no chance. And with that strike, at 29 years and 183 days old, Kessie actually made history. He became the oldest African player to ever score against Germany at the World Cup. To put that in perspective, he's now the second oldest World Cup scorer ever for his country, behind only, you guessed it, Didier Drogba. Just like that, Germany was down 1-0.
Okay, so here's the crucial pivot. How does Germany respond to this massive adversity? It's halftime, they're trailing, and Yan Diomande is just continuously terrorizing their right flank. The tactical puzzle honestly seemed unsolvable. But, great managers don't panic, they adapt. Julian Nagelsmann's mindset at the hour mark was perfectly clear. He actually said it best himself. We needed fresh legs and fresh ideas, and Undav and Emery delivered exactly that.
And this right here is where the tactical masterclass really happens. We hit the 60th minute, and Nagelsmann just rolls the dice with a bold, aggressive triple substitution. He pulls off Leroy Sané, Jamal Musiala, and Alexander Pavlovich. And who does he bring on? Jamie Llewellyn, Deniz Undav, and Nadim Amiri. Let's be real, changing 3 of your core attacking and midfield pieces all at once in a do-or-die World Cup match is a massive risk. But Nagelsmann knew that Ivory Coast's defense was incredibly stubborn, and he needed a completely different dynamic to break them down.
And wow, did that gamble pay off, and at lightning speed too. Just 8 minutes. Literally 8 minutes after stepping onto the pitch, the substitutes link up to completely alter the destiny of the match. Nadim Amiri finds space on the right side, buys himself some time, completely beats his defender, and delivers this pinpoint, curled cross right over Kai Havertz. Waiting perfectly on the other end is Deniz Undav, who controls his body beautifully to strike a clinical volley right past the keeper. Boom, 1-1 in the 68th minute. Undav, who, remember, had already scored twice off the bench against Curaçao, proved once again that he is an absolute lethal weapon as a substitute.
But it wouldn't be a World Cup classic without some late drama, right? As the clock ticks down, the tension just escalates. We get to the 80th minute, and Ivory Coast's right back, Wilfried Singo, suddenly goes down clutching a muscle. But here is where the controversy kicks in. Replays showed he looked perfectly fine just seconds prior. So was it a genuine injury, or was this a calculated bit of tactical time wasting to disrupt Germany's surging momentum? Well, Julian Nagelsmann certainly thought it was the latter. He was livid, just screaming at the 4th official on the touchline. Tempers were flaring everywhere. The clock hits 85, then 88, then 90,
and it really looked like Germany was going to have to settle for a super frustrating draw.
But then came the number that German fans are going to remember for a very, very long time. 94. 4 minutes into stoppage time. The absolute dying seconds of the match. Felix Nemecha, who's been a total standout in Germany's midfield all tournament, spots this unbelievably tight window. He threads a piercing, perfectly weighted pass straight through the heart of the Ivory Coast defense. Gislen Konen keeps the play just slightly onside. Undav receives the ball, spins in one incredibly fluid motion to set his balance on his very first touch, and delivers a cold, composed finish. 2-1 Germany? No way. The bench completely empties, Nagelsmann is throwing his hands to the sky, and the stadium just absolutely erupts.
Now we have to put Undav's heroic into some historical perspective, because what he is doing isn't just exciting, it is statistically monumental. With that 94th minute winner, Deniz Undav actually became the first player to score on both of his first 2 World Cup appearances for Germany since the legendary Miroslav Klose did it all the way back in 2002. Yeah, you heard that right. Anytime your name is being written next to Miroslav Klose, the all-time top scorer in World Cup history, you definitely know you are doing something incredibly special.
But wait, the records actually don't stop there. We've got to talk about the ultimate super sub record. Between his 2 goals against Curaçao and his 2 goals today against Ivory Coast, Undav has now been directly involved in 5 goals as a substitute at a single edition of the World Cup. That ties a record that has stood for over 3 decades. He is now totally level with the iconic Roger Milla, who set the benchmark for substitute impact with Cameroon way back in the 1990 World Cup. Honestly, Undav isn't just a bench player. He's basically a tactical nuke for Nagelsmann at this point.
So what does this 94th minute miracle actually mean for the team in the grand scheme? Pretty much everything. With this victory, Germany has officially booked their ticket to the knockout stage. And for a footballing giant like them, this is a massive, massive sigh of relief. Believe it or not, this is the first time Germany has actually qualified for the knockout stages of a World Cup since they won the whole tournament in 2014. Mind-blowing, right? Plus, they've won their opening 2 matches for the first time since 2006. It feels like the dark clouds of those recent World Cup disappointments have finally parted for them.
Let's take a really quick look at how Group E shakes out after this wild result. Germany is sitting very comfortably at the top with 6 points, their status firmly stamped as qualified. Ivory Coast, despite that truly heartbreaking late loss, is still very much alive in second place with 4 points. However, the pressure is totally dialed up for them now. They have to face a highly motivated Curaçao team in their final match, and they'll definitely be keeping a very close eye on the result of the Germany versus Ecuador game. Honestly, everything is still to play for at the bottom of the table.
What an unbelievable match. I mean, we had tactical adjustments, VAR drama, touchline fury, and a last-second, record-time goal to send a nation into the knockouts. This right here is exactly why we love the World Cup. But before we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a little question to chew on, based on those crazy statistics we just went over. When you look at the sheer impact off the bench, coming on and changing the entire trajectory of a match when legs are tired and the pressure's at its absolute peak, Deniz Undav in 2026 or Roger Milla in 1990? Who do you think is the ultimate World Cup super sub? It's a pretty fascinating debate for sure. Thank you so much for joining me to break down this incredible piece of football history. And keep learning.